Coming up on the next episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
We welcome an inspiring guest whose passion for arts education is transforming young lives. Rebekah Kellaway, director of Haven Academy of the Arts, joins us to share her journey from a teenage Sunday school teacher to leading a thriving nonprofit that brings musical theater, dance, and acting to children. It's a conversation full of purpose. Coming up next on Zuzu, All Grown Up.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
You're now listening to Zuzu All Grown Up.
She's been featured in more than 20 films from the early days of film and television.
He is a psychotherapist and her loving husband.
Together, they are on a mission to brighten your day and your life.
It's a time to smile, a time to laugh, a time to expect more.
It's time to get inspired with your hosts, Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Brunell.
It's time to meet Zuzu, all grown up.
In this special episode of Zuzu, All Grown Up, and throughout this season, we'll honor Dr. Leo Buscaglia, affectionately known as the Hug Doctor, by exploring his profound teachings on love, self-acceptance, and positive connection. We'll delve into the impact his legacy continues to have on countless lives. Join us today for some of the poignant stories and reflections from those who were influenced by his work and share in his mission to spread love and hugs to the world. That's today on this very special edition of Zuzu, All Grown Up.
Get ready for miracles. Get ready for Zuzu, All Grown Up.
I'm Seth Kennedy, joined by our wonderful hosts, Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Brunell. Today, we're shining a spotlight on the transformative power of the arts and the difference one person can make in the lives of children. Our guest, Rebekah Kellaway, is the director of Haven Academy of the Arts, a nonprofit organization dedicated to giving young people access to high-quality arts education, regardless of their background. She's here to share the challenges and triumphs of running an arts nonprofit and the role of the Leo Buscaglia Foundation in supporting Haven Academy. Rebekah, welcome to the show. Karolyn, Dr. Chris, take it away.
So glad to have Rebekah Kellaway with us today. And she's the director of Haven Academy of the Arts. It's a Dr. Leo Buscaglia Foundation grant recipient. I know 20 years ago, as a teenage Sunday school teacher, you and your Christian Fellowship worship director decided to work on creating more creative church performances. Can you explain what type of church programs you inherited?
It was a really, really small church that really wanted to be in the community and was looking for really creative ways to be part of the community. I was in high school. And one of the things that I loved to do was I really liked to write. And I wrote a Christmas play and I brought it to the music director at the time and one of the pastors. And I said, would we be able to share this? They put on the production. They canceled one of their Sunday services in December. And we put on a production with both kids from the church and from the community. Everybody came to see the show and it really brought a lot of life into the church. And that was kind of the birth for me of seeing the power of arts, particularly the performing arts, in the lives of youth. I was still young, but I was working with younger students and it was magical. I would see these kids and they weren't necessarily what you would call an arts or performing kid, but they would get up on stage and they would change. They would become more confident. They would learn to work together as a team. It would be as if they came in as one person and they came out another, but who they fully were. And I really saw something magical. And even at that young age, I said, this is what I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of bringing the arts into the lives of students and young people. And so when I graduated college, I graduated with a degree in elementary education. I had a credential to teach elementary school. I did that for a little while, but while I was doing that, I got started my own arts nonprofit. The church was still very gracious. They had just bought a new building and they wanted the building to be a blessing to the community. And they agreed to host the program there. So we have been there at the church for the last 17 years, running our own full-fledged nonprofit. And that's how we became who we are today.
So what inspired you to start the Haven Academy of the Arts then?
I had such a passion for particularly the arts and the performing arts and just the change it made and the impact it made in kids' lives. And really this belief, because of what I had seen, that every child deserved to have an experience with the performing arts, that it was part of a well-rounded education, that it was part of what brings up a human being, the kind of humans that we want in our world is that piece of the arts education. And I just wasn't seeing it happen in the schools and in the classrooms the way I wanted to. The funding just isn't there like it used to be. And it really spurred me on to ask myself, okay, if I can't find it here in the schools, how can I create a place where students can be exposed to musical theater and dance and singing and acting in a way that's going to help them build life skills that they can carry on with them, whether they go into performing or not, but that they can take those skills. That's kind of where it came from. And then I learned the business side of things just by jumping in and learning and growing and reading and surrounding myself with smart people. I've been doing it for a long time now. I now on the side do consulting, and I consult with other nonprofit startups and other nonprofit founders and leaders. So I've learned a lot along the way. I definitely didn't know about the business part of it, but looking back, I'm really grateful I was young, because I don't think now I would have jumped in and do it knowing everything that I know. But I know that the work that we're doing is so important. I'm just so grateful to be sitting here almost 20 years later with an organization that has reached so many children and has made such an impact in the community.
I read that you had a 4-year-old child.
Yeah, I have a 4-year-old little boy. Yeah.
Is he a singer like his father?
I don't know quite yet. He definitely has really good rhythm. He won't do it if you ask him to do it. We'll see what happens. We have a preschool program at our organization. So he's been in that program. He enjoys, he's done a couple little things on stage, but he won't talk to me about it. If I ask him, did you rehearse your song today? He will not discuss it. He'll perform on stage, but he will not discuss it with me. So
I play the drums. When I was about 5 or 6, a little older than him, I would play on the pots and pans, and I was playing Snoopy and the Red Baron.
I love that.
Yeah, so he might, drummer.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm sure he'll blossom into something you can be very proud of.
Yeah.
Can you share with our audience about your programs and who you actually serve?
We serve youth ages 3 through 21. We have 2 sites. So our original site is what we call our South Bay site, where we started our organization, and that's in the El Segundo area. It's in Los Angeles, right near LAX. That program is a tuition-based program, and so students pay tuition to become a part of the program, but we also have a really robust scholarship program. So equity is really important to us. Making the arts accessible to families, whether they can afford it or not, is really central to part of what our mission is. And so that program has been running. Next year will be our 18th year. 10 years ago, that equity piece for us was, again, really central to who we were. And we started asking about some of these communities in Los Angeles where there wasn't access to arts education and where the socioeconomic status was such that parents wouldn't be able to afford to bring in a program or pay for a program. And that these were kids that lived far enough away from our programming that they couldn't just come and take advantage of our scholarship program in the El Segundo area. We partnered with another community group, a tutoring company, and a church in the area that had facility. And we went in and started another branch of our program. And that's our Pico Union program. And it is entirely funded by grants and donations. Program that is specifically for a neighborhood of kids that don't have access to arts education, that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to put their kids in a program like that. And that program has been a year-round program, and that's been going on now for 10 years. And about 5 years ago, we wanted to expand that. And so that was the birth of our Heart of the City program. Our Heart of the City program is a mobile summer camp site where we go and do musical theater camps, and we go into several different neighborhoods in Los Angeles. Again, we're targeting neighborhoods where there's either no arts education in the school or very little funding for it, so the experience hasn't been something that they've been exposed to. We go in and partner with community groups that are already in the community, that understand the neighborhood, that understand the need. And we take our program in, but we work with our community partners, whether it's a school or a church or another nonprofit, and really listen to them about what they need, what kind of programming works for them. And we do a 2-week summer camp. And out of that, actually birthed another year-round site that we just started this year in the West Adams area, also funded by donations and grants. So we have 3 year-round sites, one in El Segundo, and then 2 tuition-free sites, one in the West Adams area and one in the Pico Union area. Our main vehicle is musicals.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
Start your morning right with premium coffee roasts available at zuzunetwork.com and drink them in your Zuzu All Grown Up coffee mug. Also perfect for tea and hot chocolate.
Stay inspired throughout the day with the same gratitude journal used by Karolyn and Chris, and check out t-shirts, hats, books, Christmas keepsakes, and more at zuzunetwork.com/shop.
Join Zuzu's network today at zuzunetwork.com/join.
Karolyn is creating an international network of aspiring angels, everyday people who believe that they can help make the world a better place by making life better for even just one other person.
Let us know you want to earn your wings at zuzunetwork.com/join, and Karolyn and Chris will send you inspirational material to support you in your journey.
We're back with more Zuzu All Grown Up.
We do musicals with our students. It's about a 10-week rehearsal process, and they come in and they finish it up, and we do a fully staged, lit microphones, sets, costumes for the students, and they get to be a part of a musical. And depending on the level, we do all kinds of different things. So we have a little kindergarten through third grade musical where they're doing a little 30-minute musical. And then with our older kids, we're doing the full-length Broadway version. So we just finished a production of Into the Woods. We did the entire thing and with our 11 through 21-year-olds at our South Bay site. So we're really proud of the work that our kids are doing. Our main focus is using the arts as a vehicle to develop character and life skills in our students. So we're really proud of our performing arts curriculum. We do have students that go into it successfully, that get into great performing arts programs in schools and go on to have a wonderful career. But our main goal is that whatever lessons they're learning, they're going to take it into life, and they're going to use the skills that they're learning to make a difference in their community. And that's what we're all about.
And they're learning to have self-confidence.
They are.
So how did it feel when you began your nonprofit and had the support of your mentors and friends?
I definitely have to give a lot of credit to the people around me. I was one of those young people that had mentors in my life who believed in me and believed that young people could do big things if you give them the support, but also a little bit a long leash to try things. And I think back to that Christmas play that they let me write at church and just said, let's put this on. And then really trusting me, even at age like 19, 20, to direct youth musicals and to really learn where my place was in the world and where I could make the most difference. And that's really something that I carry into my philosophy with working with young people. We have a really robust leadership program with our students. They're getting opportunities to teach, stage manage, be involved with the kids, work in the office, because I really believe that the reason I'm here today is because the adults in my life believed in me, but not only believed in me, but provided that support and that cheerleading, but also kind of the scaffolding that I needed as a young person to be successful. And my hope is I can do that for young people as well.
I work as a therapist, and one of the things that we don't see is enough scaffolding or develop a good foundation for you to be able to succeed. And what you're doing here is creating that foundation for them.
That's the goal.
I know you've seen a lot of successes. Do you have anyone in particular that really touched your heart?
There's so many of them. It's hard to pick just one, but I think right now there are a couple of people that are kind of at the forefront of my mind because they're working for me this summer. So I have an office manager right now that's a full-time employee now that came up through our program, and it's been amazing to watch her grow. One of the directors for my summer camp is a former student, and she went, graduated, got her teaching credential, and she's back teaching for me. And so seeing these students that grew up in our program now coming back and giving back to the organization and the community, those are the kinds of stories that really make me feel like the work that we're doing has a purpose, because you start seeing the multiplication of it. It's not just you, that you've created more educators and people that want to give back to the community, and you've multiplied that, and now they can come back to your organization and help you really expand the scope of the work that you're doing.
What was your first musical that you produced, and how did you decide that would be your first?
We had done a couple of things through the church, like the shows we had written, but the first one I did that I hadn't written, we did a musical version of Narnia. And the reason that we picked it was because we were looking for something, this is when we were still kind of part of the church. And so we were looking for something that everybody would say, oh, this is totally fine to do and nobody had a problem with. And it's very funny because it's actually become a Haven favorite. We still do it every 4 years. It's one of the musicals that we cycle through. It's not a very well-known one, but it's got really beautiful music and features a lot of fun characters. And the kids love it because they all read the stories growing up. And so there's stories that they can relate to. So that was my very first directing project. I really loved the kids and I loved working with them, but I would not say that the piece of art was very good, but I've learned. I've directed over 40 productions now, and I think that they've gotten a lot better. Definitely in the beginning, it was a lot more just about the process and the kids and the fun, and it didn't matter as much exactly what the show was like at the end.
With any new endeavor, being a rock star, take the steps to build like scaffolding, like you were putting earlier.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are hesitant to try new things out because of that. They feel like they have to be perfect.
I work with a lot of mentoring new directors and new instructors in my program, and I always tell them, they want to do just the best the first time. Like, I want to show you, and I tell them, you're going to direct a lot of bad stuff in the beginning, and that's how you get better. Like, your focus is what kind of environment you want to create for the kids. Like, that's the important part. Like, how do they feel when they're in rehearsal? How do they feel when they're up on stage? But it's going to take you time before you create art that you're internally really proud of, and that's part of the process. It's not going to get good unless you keep putting things on stage.
Why do you feel arts education is important for all children? And what's your program doing to address the issues of equity in arts education?
I'm a really big advocate for the power of arts education. I've seen it both kind of anecdotally, and if you look at the studies.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
To find out more about the organization featured in today's episode or a previous episode, and to learn more about how you can help, go to zuzunetwork.com/beanangel.
Let's take a moment to breathe. Deep inhale. Extend your spine. Remain focused on what you're doing. If safe to do so, exhale slowly, leaning to one side. Inhale back to center. If safe to do so, exhale slowly to the opposite side. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org. This message is brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ed Council.
Zuzu's book club features recommendations from Zuzu herself on books she loves and thinks you will love also. All of the books that the club reads, fiction and nonfiction, are inspirational and uplifting. Folks, this is a life-enhancing club to be part of. You can sign up for free at zuzunetwork.com/book club. That's zuzunetwork.com/book club.
This is Zuzu, all grown up.
Kids who are involved in visual or performing arts, music, dance, theater, painting, drawing, they're gaining skill sets that are helping them do better academically, that are developing socio-emotional skills they wouldn't develop otherwise. But for some reason, we've seen a decline of schools really honoring that and putting in the curriculum and putting the funds into it. It's one of the first things that gets cut, which we know a kid needs to be able to read and do math, but the studies show that it's just as important that they're getting the arts piece and they get cut. We're a small to medium-sized organization, and I know that we can't fix the whole world. I think one of the lessons that I've been really trying to hold on to where I am in my journey now as an arts educator and a director of a nonprofit is being really intentional about the corner of the world that I get to make a difference in, that I can't do it all, and that's okay. No one person can, but we each have this little corner of the world that we're given, and we each have an opportunity to use our time in that little corner of the world wisely. And so that's what I want to do. And in our communities and the communities that we're in, how can we address this issue coming alongside school districts and providing programming, especially in our tuition-free programs in Pico and West Adams and our Heart of the City sites? How can we go into communities where there's not arts in the school? As a school teacher, a former school teacher, I really became aware of this dynamic of the schools where there's a higher socioeconomic status. The parents are able to put additional funding into the school, and that's where the arts programming comes from. But when you get into a school where the parents don't have the funding, or there's just not the infrastructure of an education foundation, the schools aren't going to fund it. And so there's this huge discrepancy between schools that are able to afford it and schools that are able to afford it. And we really want to go into these communities where there's not the infrastructure and help kind of bridge the gap, get into these communities and provide the arts education that we know is so vital and is so important to these kids growing up to become successful human beings. And successful human beings, it's part of the academic, but it's also who they're becoming as people. What are they contributing to society? Do they have the tools to be able to make a difference and to use their talents to make the world a better place?
So as a Dr. Leo Buscalia's Foundation grant recipient, how has the funding from the foundation benefited your program?
We are so grateful for organizations like the Leo Buscaglia Foundation. We are funded partially by tuition, partially by individual donations, and then partially by foundation and government grants. And if we didn't have those foundation and government grants, the work that we do, particularly the work that we do at our tuition-free sites, would not be possible. There's really been a shift in the landscape. Again, as I said, of schools cutting arts, there's been a little bit more government funding that's come in, but the sustainability of these small foundations that can come in and can support work like this, it's vital. It's vital to the arts staying available to the next generation. Organizations like Leo Buscaglia who are able to come in and say, we really value this and we want to support it. And that's how the arts are staying alive in the community. And it's not always these big, giant foundations. The big foundations don't often support small to medium-sized nonprofits like this. It is the Leo Buscaglias. It is these smaller family foundations that are coming alongside the people who are really doing the work and building the relationships in the community. And we're so grateful to this particular foundation for seeing us and believing in our work and helping make it possible. And we're thankful for all of the smaller family foundations that have come in and make our work possible. We wouldn't be able to do it without them.
It's amazing. What challenges do you face in funding your arts education program for youth?
Just the ever changing world that nonprofit funding is in. I've learned over the years the importance of having multiple sources of funding, so not just relying on one donor. And so the challenge is it's just never ending. Every year, there's a certain amount of our income that has to come from donations and grants. So we have to be out there with our donors, engaging them. We have to be applying for new grants. A lot of the grant applications, they're long and you're filling them out and you're taking the time. So I think just that continued cycle of if you want to do the work for next year, you have to have the funding for next year. So it's kind of this never ending hamster wheel. And if you've ever worked for a nonprofit, anybody who does understands that you're usually understaffed, everybody's a little bit underpaid, and you're working on a shoestring. So everybody's wearing so many hats and working so hard to make the work happen. And that it's not just about the work. There's a huge piece in the nonprofit sector of people that are doing the grant writing, that are doing the fundraising. They're really the unsung heroes because they're the ones that are bringing in the funding that makes the work that we're doing possible.
I've worked in nonprofits for many years, and I know exactly what you're talking about. It's never ending. Encouraging. So has the work that you've done at Haven Academy helped you support others who are doing similar work?
A lot of it's been in the lessons that I've learned. I think I learned a lot through being in the trenches and got a lot of my education from surrounding myself with really smart people. I was very intentional early on to surround myself with board members that really knew the business world, but I learned so much from the process. And I feel as if I'm in a place now where I can really give back. And I think it goes back to this kind of view of what in your limited time can you do in your own little corner of the world. And so I've been intentional. I do a little bit of consulting and I work with different nonprofits who are smaller and coming in and helping them figure out particularly how to talk about the work that they're doing in a way that gets people excited. We call it branding and we call it rewriting their mission statement. And it seems like it's all very rote stuff, but it's so important because that's where the funding comes in. If you can tell a story about the work that your organization is doing, that's how you get the grant funding. That's how you get the donors excited about your work. So I come in and work with them and help them be able to tell that story of the work that they're doing so that they can get the funding that they need to continue doing the work. And actually discovered that I really enjoy that as well. It's given me opportunity to work in nonprofit sectors that I am not in. So outside of the arts education role and to work in other causes that I'm passionate about, like healthcare, domestic violence, or women's issues, like anything that I really feel like I'm really passionate about, I get to work with different nonprofits. And it gives me a little moment of going, okay, I got to contribute here as well.
You really do practice the messages from the movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Each man's life touches another. And you have been doing that for many years. I just think it's so wonderful. Children will flourish and we'll have a chance in this world. It's pretty tough. If any of our listeners are interested in learning more about you and your fantastic youth theater program, how can they contact you?
We have a wonderful website that has all kinds of information on it. It's havenartsacademy.org. If you Google Haven Academy of the Arts, it will come up as well. If you are local, if you're in Los Angeles area and you want to get your kid involved, there's information there. There's also information on our donor page about how you can become involved if you'd like to support the work we're doing as well. We always welcome new members into our donor family. The work that we're doing, like I said, right, it's the continuous work and the continuous bringing it in. And we're really grateful for the people that have come alongside us and make the work we're doing possible.
Can you mention that website again?
HAVEN Arts, ARTS Academy, ACADEMY.org.
Okay. Thank you so very
Thank
much.
you so much, Rebekah,
for joining us today and showing us there is hope.
It's been an honor to be here today. And thank you for the small part that you played in such a wonderful movie. I know you were young when you did it, but it touches me every year. And I really do think it sums up our purpose in the world, right? Like, we're one person and we don't know how many people that we touch. And just to be reminded of that so that we can be really intentional about how we approach the world is such an important lesson to be reminded. And I enjoy watching it every year so I could be reminded.
It's a God thing.
It is.
I'm so thankful that I was that little girl that was chosen to play that part, but I definitely think there was some divine intervention there.
It's really special.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
What an inspiring conversation. We would like to thank Rebekah Kellaway for sharing her passion for arts education, her journey of leadership, and the incredible impact of Haven Academy of the Arts. I'm Seth Kennedy, and we'll see you next time on Zuzu, All Grown Up.
Do you know someone who is earning their wings? Someone practicing kindness and service to others? Perhaps an organization or initiative helping make the world we live in a kinder, sweeter place.
Or maybe you've witnessed the miraculous, the divine, the magnificent in some way in your life, and you'd like to share it with others. Go to zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory and let us know more.
You may end up being featured on an upcoming episode of Zuzu All Grown Up. That's zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
We hope you've been inspired to live your most wonderful life now and to help those around you do the same.
Remember, no matter what you're going through, no matter who you are, there are people who care about you and your life makes a difference.
It is a wonderful life.
Check out zuzunetwork.com for more on today's and other episodes, including transcripts and merchandise you won't want to be without.
New episodes are coming soon.
For transcripts of today's broadcast, go to zuzunetwork.com/transcripts.
Watch a video clip of today's episode at www.instagram.com/Zuzu All Grown Up. That's www.instagram.com/Zuzu All Grown Up. Then click on the Reels tab from the top of the center of the page. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at www.instagram.com/Zuzu All Grown Up. That's www.instagram.com/Zuzu All Grown Up. Catch up on past episodes and discover currently premiering and upcoming episodes as well, and get helpful links and exclusive clips from our recordings. That's www.instagram.com/Zuzu All Grown Up.
Zuzu All Grown Up with your hosts Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Chris Brunell.
Announcer and guide Seth Kennedy.
Executive producer Kevin R. Stillmock.
Coordinating producer Holly Ann Way.
Technical producer Stella Joel.
Managing producer Karina Filatova. A Wonderful Land production.
In collaboration with Radio Wonderful.